Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am your host, Joe the Panther, the third. And man, tonight, fans, we have a treat for you. This gentleman right here, this way, is like something that I've never seen. He's something, man. He got a spark. He got a spark. Introduce yourself to my ringside crew.
First of all, Joe, thank you for having me. My name is Ronin, and yeah, I'm excited to be here and to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I appreciate the opportunity and the platform.
No problem, Rowan, my man. So, who trained you?
Right now, currently, I train at the Wrestling Lab under Coach Jay Letho, Coach Big Khan, and Coach David Mercury. And I have extended my training, and I am under the tutelage as well of Coach Malachi Black and Coach Zelina Vega at at Dark Arts Pro Wrestling and Muay Thai. So I've been very fortunate hitting the ground running because I'm very new to the game of pro wrestling.
Wow, like that's a lot of doctors over a patient right there. So like a lot of hands going into that bowl. So out of all of them that have trained you, what kind of advice have you taken from them to put into like your wrestling style?
So for me personally, the main thing was keeping that authenticity. That is the main thing, the authenticity. Not that it's an issue in pro wrestling. I don't think there's ever an issue, but there's a top for every pot, right? You know, everyone, like, something tickles everyone's fancy, and what I mean by that is some people enjoy wrestling where it's a lot of spots, a lot of flips, and all that type of stuff. Me, I liked the grittiness, the authenticity of it, like the wild world of sports, the old school William Regals, you know, the hold for holds. That was something that I truly loved, as well as, you know, one of my coaches right now, Malachi Black. I love that martial arts infused with pro wrestling, because that's, if let's call a spade, that's what pro wrestling was all about back in the Wonder Years.
That's really cool that you don't have more than one coach, because a lot of wrestlers I've spoken to this so far this year, they have like one or two. You have like 4 or 5 people. So like, who do you like to take more of the advice from? Like the one group or all of them, or just like everybody in a bowl?
And for me personally, training, with anything, right? You take what works and what doesn't work. I will listen to all advice coming from my coaches because they have been at levels I'm just scratching the surface with. So I never think there is bad advice because they clearly know what they are talking about. I just pick and choose what works for me. For example, if someone tells me, which they wouldn't, right? Oh, you could do a shooting star press. I'm not doing that. That is not in my wheelhouse. That is not who I am. I believe in being authentic and who I truly am. I rather kick you in the mouth than jump off the top rope, because that is who I am. And that's how I've been training for years. Excuse me, in martial arts, but in pro wrestling, I'm just about a year right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like, you said you do the martial arts and now you're into the wrestling. So which one do you like really prefer? The pro wrestling side or the martial arts side?
So once a martial artist, always a martial artist. So I'm a martial artist till I die, from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to Muay Thai to boxing in the Air Force, right? These are styles that I feel help me in pro wrestling. I found fighting because I thought it was pro wrestling, if that makes sense, right? Like most of us in high school, right? Or in Pee Wee League, right? We hear wrestling, we automatically think WWE. When you get there and you got a singlet on, you're like, hey, this is not what I signed up for. And that's how I found fighting. And it was just something that you never master. My goal with martial arts is the same thing with wrestling. It sounds negative, but I always say you don't want to suck more at one thing than the other. You want to suck equally at everything. And the reason I say that is I never want to get a big head. I always ask for when I ask people for advice, I ask for constructive criticism. I don't ask so you can stroke my ego. I didn't get into this for everyone to give me a nice pat on the back. I got into this because I truly feel I can be one of the best in years to come. But I have to humble myself, and I have to constantly get that criticism and keep working towards all wrestlers' common goal, and that is perfecting the craft.
Is there any like martial artist that like in the MMA scene, the smaller scene, that you've been like watching that you would like to bring them into the pro wrestling world with you to have like one match?
No, I would never want to do that, and no one that I would see crossing over. But I do train with, I would, lack of better words, I do train with a bunch of killers at South Tampa Jiu Jitsu and MMA. From Lane Andrews, he is the owner and he is the black belt there. John Ortolani, another savage, former MMA fighter, he just recently retired. He's another black belt, and these guys have had my back. Michael Pizza Visa, excuse me. That's one of my best friends, and he has been instrumental in my career. And when I made the transition, the first thing they say is like, I can see that. So I don't necessarily would ever want to bring them to match, but they are people just like my coaches, like Coach Jay, Coach Mercury, Coach Khan, Coach Malachi, Coach Leah. They have my best interests at heart, especially as friends and training partners.
So like when you're traveling, what is like your go-to food like before a show, you would say?
So it's for me, I'm very old at heart, so I pack all my stuff. So I'm very particular. I'm anal retentive. I have my suitcase packed like 2 days before. I have my checklist. I have my food. But if I'm feeling squirrely, if it's before or after a show, there's a big difference of what I'll eat before or after a show.
Hmm.
Which one do you want, before or
I
after?
guess like before a show. Let's go first before the show when you're on the way there.
So before a show, for me, I like to just make sure I hit, here, does it fit your macros, right? So I make sure I just keep high protein, higher fats to medium to low carbs. That's what I do better with. So you grab your beef jerkies or anything like, some pork grinds, get some good fat for energy, and just regular basic protein shakes. But what I pack with me, I'll have my grilled chicken, steak, potatoes, things of that nature. But once the show's over, excuse me, oh, it'll be pizza. It'll be nachos. It'll be all the things that'll give you diarrhea. But
Oh jeez.
it is well worth it after a show. That one meal won't hurt you. You earned it after, a hard hitting match.
Okay. When I know you do like the martial arts and the wrestling, so like the week of like a wrestling show, what is it like for you? Like putting down the days like that.
So for me, it's like was a weird transition for me. So coming from the world of combat sports, if you have a fight or if you have a jiu-jitsu competition, right? You're either thinking about if you have to cut weight, okay, how much water can I drink? What can I eat? What are my calories at? I brought that same mindset to professional wrestling. It is uh it is a combat sport in itself. So I would get those same butterflies, those same nerves when I would get to the show, and it has helped me to stay focused. Treat it like a fight. It's the week of the fight. Treat it the same way. The only difference is obviously you're not weighing in and you don't have to dehydrate yourself. But I kept that same mindset because I've been very militant and I've been very precise of how I'm going to do things. I'm 33 years old. I don't have time to waste. So for me, what I think helps me a lot is having that age, because I know what works for me and I know what doesn't.
So, do you collect anything?
Do I
Like when you
collect
go to different areas and stuff like that, I mean?
collections? I really don't have a collect. Well, actually, I do. So coming from boxing, right, Muay Thai. So I am, how people collect sneakers. I am a snob when it comes to boxing gloves. I have different ounces, different types, whether it's Cleto Reyes's, whether they're Hayabusas, whether it's made of horsehair, whether it's synthetic leather, whether it's foam inside. different gloves for different types of training. So everyone has their Jordans. I have my boxing gloves.
So, as a kid, who
Yeah.
was your like favorite solo wrestler and favorite tag team wrestlers?
Ooh, that is hard because for me it goes by era, right? We got the
Yeah.
Attitude Era, the Ruthless Era. Overall, personality-wise, obviously The Rock. I don't
Mm,
know what it was. Like, excuse me, we all know what it was. He would literally take something out of thin air and make it the most hilarious thing you ever see, and it would be consistent every show.
yeah.
Favorite wrestler of all time because of character work and technical ability, Kurt Angle.
Mm,
Kurt Angle for the simple fact that he was a workhorse. He just amazing technical, of that caliber, Olympic athlete with a broken neck, right? And then he was able to be a serious heel, a serious baby face, and then he was able to do the comedic wrestling as well. Like Kurt, I'm a sexy boy, or he would do the whole thing with Charmel and Booker T and all those uncomfortable yet memorable segments. So it would be Kurt Angle for me. But
awesome.
modern day for characters, I've always been obsessed with dark characters, the Bray Wyatts of the worlds, the Malachi Blacks, the Righteous Vincents, the Karrion Crosses, just everyone in that wheelhouse I've always been drawn to.
If you can bring back any past manager or wrestler to come do one more show with you, who would they be and why? And the stipulation, if it's a wrestler.
Ooh, to bring back, I
Yeah,
can't. Oh,
the
right off the top.
if they're either living or dead, I mean. Like they could be either living or they could be dead and you could bring them back for one more match.
For living or dead for one more. Ooh, that's hard. Oh my gosh. So I mean, it's a technicality, right? Because he's been injured for quite some time. It would be Bray Wyatt. I've been.
Mm.
I'm a. I hate using the word, but I am a Bray Wyatt mark. That is
I
someone that.
love Bray. That music hits and I'm like, "Oh my god, don't let anybody in the room. I have to watch this."
It's just like for me. It's just like when I hear the song "Shatter" by Code Orange, that switch flips for me, and I could finish my work. I could go for another 30 minutes in a workout just when I hear that song. It's just
Used to
I
see
don't
me
know
a
what.
few years ago. My beard was down to here.
Yeah.
I used to wear my black fedora with the who didn't with the Hawaiian shirt with the black
Yeah.
pants and you wear the boots. My boys all called me Little Bray Wyatt for like a year because
I
I
don't
would
know.
talk like this.
And that's the beautiful thing about me personally, about Bray, is that if when you look at him, yes, now he looks great. He's a big guy, right? But he wasn't the physique that you would expect. He was just like the anti-hero, right? And
Mhm.
everyone fell in love with him because the rambling rabbit and the things that he would do. It was just so unique for dark characters. Yes, we had the Undertaker, but this was just such a different spin. It had that Texas Chainsaw, like Louisiana drawl type of character, and it was beautiful to see.
So I want to thank you so much. And well, one more question:
Yes, sir.
if there was any young male or female that wanted to get into the wrestling business and they did not know like how to do it, what kind of advice would you give them?
Ooh, advice.
If they had a show, like a kid sees you and comes up and
Yeah.
like, and they
The
want to
one,
like, I want to get in the wrestling business.
if it was a kid or if it was say like a young adult and they wrote me, I would tell them physical and mental health first before you get in that ring, and make sure you have money saved. The saying is, good training isn't cheap and cheap training isn't always good. So save your money up, go to a reputable school. And I'm always going to plug my schools because I feel like my coaches have done me justice. So I apologize if this seems like an infomercial. The Wrestling Lab with Coach Jay Letho, Coach David Mercury, Coach Big Khan. This was my stomping grounds. They know what they're talking about at that school, and find like-minded people. And the last advice I would give anyone starting, excuse my language, do not get involved in the bullshit. Everyone wants to gossip in wrestling. It can be very, very toxic if you let it take over. Focus on you. If you hear someone say something negative about someone, don't follow suit. Do not feed into it, because this is a game of networking. This is a game of, hey, you know me, I know you, let's do business together. And some people don't understand that. So physical and mental health, save up money for a reputable school, and keep your mouth shut and train hard. And that's basically it.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You don't
No
even
problem.
know. I so appreciate it. I'm Joe Panther III. Your turn.
This is Ronin.
We will catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.